I'm Shirley, and I'm 4 years old, and I'm down here, and I'm lost. And can you tell her? Can you tell her that I'm down here? Because I've tried telling her, but she won't listen. I'm hurt. Yeah. No, I'm not bleeding. No, I don't have wounds, but I'm hurting. And I've tried telling her, but she won't listen. Yeah, yes, I've tried asking for help, but nobody listens, and only voices that I hear are, shh, be quiet. Your voice will never matter. You're not important. You'll never be loved. Why would anybody even love you? You don't even love yourself. So just shh, be quiet. Don't say anything else. But I'm down here. I'm scared, and I need help. Can you tell her that I'm down here? She won't listen to me because she's numbed herself to me. She's so busy. She's strong. She's independent. She has a lot going for her. But she doesn't know that I'm down here because she won't listen to me. But maybe if you see her, you can tell her that I'm here. But one thing you need to know is she looks just like me. She doesn't have any bruises on her, but she's hurting. She's bleeding on the inside. She'll never know. She won't tell you. She wants you to know that she's strong. She wants you to know that she's independent. She wants you to know that she has everything under control. She wants you to think she has that S on her chest. But when you see her, can you tell her? Can you tell her that I'm here? Can you tell her that I've been trying to get her attention? And another thing, when you see her, you'll ask her how she's doing, and she'll say she's fine. She'll say she's good. She says she'll tell you she's handling it. But you must know that we're not okay. And can you tell her when you see her that we're not okay? Today, ladies, I want to talk to you about, from the topic of your story and your voice is too powerful to go unheard. If you guys follow Christian teaching, you might be familiar with Abraham and Sarah. I'll go quickly through the story, but when you get home, you can read it. It's Genesis 16. Sarah and Abraham were promised to have a child, but Sarah was barren. And so Sarah took it upon herself and said, well, I have a maidservant by the name of Hagar. Why don't you go in with her? And maybe through her, we can have a family. So, of course, Abraham, being a man, said, sure, I'll do that. I can do that. I can help us. I'll do that. So he went in, he had sex with Hagar. Hagar became pregnant, and the moment she knew that she was pregnant, she got a little arrogant. And she let Sarah know, yeah, I got your man's baby. But Sarah wasn't having it, so she went to Abraham and said, this all stuff right here happened, maybe it's you, maybe it's my fault, but we need to do something about it. Abraham said, that's your business, you handle it, do what you want to do. So essentially, Sarah started mistreating Hagar, and Hagar ran away. Now Hagar is out all alone by herself, pregnant and homeless. An angel encounters her by a spring of water, and she was heading to a place called Shur, which means wall in Hebrew. He asked her, Hagar, where have you come from? And where are you going? She says, I'm running from my maid. I'm running from my master. And he said, Hagar, you're pregnant, go back home. You're going to have a son by the name of Ishmael. You're going to name him that because it means God has heard your affliction. She said, great, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to name this place Bir Lahai because God has seen me. She went back and she bore a son. I don't have time to go through all this, and I'm not up here to preach to you, but the first point that I do want to make is we must first go back to our past and deal with it. The angel asked Hagar, where have you come from? He wants to know, where have you been? And why are you out here in this place? What happened to you in your past and on up to this point is significant, and it is significant no matter if it's painful or not. It has a purpose. God is calling us not literally to go back to that place where we've been hurt like Hagar, but just for a moment, take time to just think, When was the first time that you learned about rejection? Who taught you that? When was the first time that you were shamed? When was the first time that you were hurt? Who taught you that? What were the lessons that you learned from that? Oftentimes we run from those moments because they're too painful. But God is saying, I need you to go back to those moments. Why? Because there's blessing there and there's a healing there. No, there's nothing absolutely wrong with independence. But usually that's where we find ourselves. When we're so hurt, we can't depend on anybody. I like to call myself Miss Independent. But there is something wrong with independence when we use it as a defense mechanism to protect ourselves and to block ourselves from being hurt by somebody else. Oftentimes we find ourselves saying, I got it, I don't need it. Well, where did that come from? Maybe Daddy wasn't there, and he taught us men are not dependable. Maybe you told a story to a best friend that was a secret, and she spilled it. And what did you say? Oh, I'm never going to become vulnerable again. I thought I could trust this person. Hagar had 3 needs. Men, lucky you, you're here to hear. We're not as complicated. We have 3 needs. Hagar had 3 of them, and we'll go into them. Her first need was to be heard. When she first encountered the angel, he said, you're going to have a son. You're going to name him Ishmael. Why? Because God has heard your affliction. Now, I'm a counselor. Yes, I'm an author and speaker as well. But I'm also a therapist. And my focus is on interpersonal trauma and attachment. Essentially, I just love looking at relationships and how our relationship wounds affect our encounters with ourselves and with others. So as children, what is our first attempt to connect with somebody? It's audible. I'm going to cry. Wah, wah, wah. I need your attention. As adults, or as toddlers, mommy, 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 mommy. Maybe you got some mommies in here, you know what I'm saying. Yes. And as adults, when you're having a conversation, it's, did you hear what I said? And somewhere along those lines, that need was either inconsistently met or it wasn't met at all. So that's our first wound we might encounter. The second need that Hagar had was to be seen. As soon as she encountered the angel, she said, wow, God has seen me. I'm going to name this place Brilla-Hi-Roy. As children, our second attempt as connecting with people is to be seen. So kids, it's mommy, mommy, look at me, look what I'm doing, right? And as adults, it's I'm going to interact, and pay attention to me, I'm talking, right? And I need your attention. And if that need is not met as well, that's when we find ourselves with our second wound. The third need that she had was to be attached or to be connected to somebody. So as soon as the angel said, go back home, you're pregnant, just go back home. It's better there, you're going to be blessed. She bore a son. And as human beings, our first interaction with people is usually with mommy, right, or your first caregiver, and that's when our attachment style is developed. It's, are you holding me? Are you nurturing me? If not, then we encounter our third wound. As children, it's, if you're not looking at me, if you're not listening to me, I'm going to pull at you, I'm going to tug at your hand, I'm going to jump in your lap, and as adults, I want to hold your hand, I want to hug you, I want to kiss you, I want to be intimate with you. That's forming attachment. If mommy doesn't meet those 3 needs, we as children grow up to foster unhealthy ways of interacting with other people. If you don't hear me, if you don't see me, if you're not attached to me, then I'm going to think, 1, there's something wrong with me. Or I'm going to think 2, well, I have value, but it's going to be in somebody else. So somebody else needs to tell me, you look good, you need to affirm me, and if you're not affirming me, there's something wrong with me. This affects 3 areas. I like to call myself the CPR coach. So it's career, personal, and relational. If we have this mindset of either I'm no longer worthy, I'm unloved, then it affects our work. If we're entrepreneurs, then you're by yourself. But if you're on a job, it affects your performance. You're always going to be doing something, feeling like, I need to do this to get attention. I need to do this to get affirmation. I need to do this to get my boss's approval. And that's a poor mindset to have. Secondly, it affects our personal relationship. I believe that knowing others and having the desire to be known is the greatest need and the greatest desire that we have. But I also feel that's the greatest fear that we have. Why? Because if I have to know myself, that means I have to be comfortable with my flaws. That means I have to be comfortable with my pain. Who wants to sit in that? I don't think anybody wants to. And if I allow you to know me, that means I have to put my guard down, I need to take off my face, and I have to allow you to see, this is me, this is what you get. What you see is what you get. But I can't do that because I don't even like myself, or I'm uncomfortable with myself. So I can't let you get any farther than this, because if you do, you'll see the real me, and you might not like it. So I was praying and praying, asking God, I'm up here supposed to be talking about purpose, so I was like, God, how do I tie in your needs and your wounds from your past? How do I tie that into what does that have to do with your purpose? And God said, for one, this is very relevant because so many of us women here will take the information and we'll go hide behind it. Why? Because it's something else that we could be doing. As women are so used to doing and caring for and being there for everybody else, but we don't take the time to slow down and think, well, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Am I supposed to just be sitting and being present with God? Am I supposed to be interacting with 10 different other businesses? When we get to that point where we're so chaotic, we don't hear our own voice. And so I was talking to God, and he said, yes, you need to tell them this because the rate at which you can become successful will be capped at the level in which you're willing to go deep. And I know you think, well, what does my business have to do with, my personal life? It has everything, anything, and everything to do with it. The disciples were out fishing. That was their business. They weren't catching anything, so they said, all right, clean it up, we're good, we're going home. Jesus said, no, no, no. Roll back out, throw your nets into the deep. They had all the business skills, they had all the knowledge, they had all the network, they had all the support. What was the difference? They weren't deep enough. And so God is saying, if you want to go deeper in your business, if you want that business to flourish, you, as the individual, has to go deep. In your own personal life, you have to get to that point and say, I'm vulnerable, I'm hurt, and I need to slow down to listen to that voice. So I didn't want to stand up here and say, these are the 5 points to find your purpose in life, and this is how to be successful. Why would I do that? Why would I teach you how to run towards your purpose and destiny when you're running from what's inside of you? Why would I teach you how to grow your business when you're dying inside? I think that's counterintuitive. Why would I teach you to listen to the cries of other people when the voice within you is crying and dying every night? The monologue that I opened with was me, 4-year-old Trillion. I grew up in a domestic violence home, abusive father, alcoholic father. That's all I knew. And so at a very young age, I knew that don't trust men. I don't know about if you trust women or not, but what you need to do is stand your ground. You're self-sufficient now, 4 years old. Don't expect to ask anybody to do anything for you. Do it on your own. And if you can't do it, you fake it. Don't you dare ask for help. Don't you dare tell anybody that you're not okay. And when they ask you, you say, I'm good. Put a smile on your face, it's all right. Until God started chipping at that wall. And my business, it peaked. He wouldn't let me go any further because I wasn't willing to go any further in my own personal growth. God was saying, the extent that I'm willing to use you is going to be the extent that you're willing to allow me to go through you in the process. So your testimony is your story. Your story is your voice, and your voice is the very thing that God is going to use to bless thousands, if not millions of people around you. And your voice is the very thing that God is going to use to make you wealth. whatever it is, whatever your voice is, that's your goal. Your goal is to tell your story in whatever capacity it is. Maybe you grew up in a home where finance was not handled very well. So you said, you know what? I'm going to start a financial company and I'm going to change that. That's your voice. Maybe you grew up in a home where poor eating was the norm. People died because of diabetes or heart disease. So you said, I'm going to start a chain of restaurants where I only serve healthy organic food. That's your story. Me personally, I grew up in a domestic violence, like I said, abusive home. So I got a degree, so now I'm going to become a therapist. I'm going to write books, and I'm going to speak about the pain that we go through, that we tell nobody about, because it's too painful. If you want to be successful in your business, it starts with you. And if you don't grow, your business doesn't grow. The goal is never to rewrite the story. Yes, I know we've had a painful, painful story. You were abused. You might have been raped. You might have been molested. You might have been lied to. But our goal is never to rewrite the story. That's out of our control. Our goal is to finish the story. And you have within yourself the power to finish the story the way that you so desire. But it's dependent on you. Nobody else is going to write it for you. Our goal is to finish the story. But before we can finish the story, you must go back. What is it that hurt us? What is it that broke us? What is it that is causing us to have such a bad attitude? What is it that's causing us to be so bitter? What is it that is causing us to be so resentful? What is it that's causing us to be so independent? Is it you just have the spirit of entrepreneurship? Or are you just really hurt from people? You just want to be your own boss? Which one is it? The goal is to finish your story. Deal with your unfinished business. Know what your needs are. Address the needs to be seen, to be heard, and to be attached to. Somewhere along those lines in your past, one of those, I can guarantee, was wounded. And I can guarantee that not everybody, unless you're perfect, not everybody has dealt with that hurt. So maybe God will just allow you, with you and Him, in your me time, to deal with that. Or maybe He'll say, you know what, this is something that you and a counselor should also work through along with me. The goal, ladies, like I said, is to finish your story and know that in order for your business to become successful, you first have to become successful as an individual. Your voice is your purpose, ladies, so tell it. Thank you.